At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
Sees a little space opening up here. He's still going. Oh, it's a wonderful goal! The first of Huggins' career.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
Sees a little space opening up here. He's still going. Oh, it's a wonderful goal! The first of Huggins' career.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Stadium of Light. The moment has come for the people of Sunderland to see their team for the first time this season, as the lads run out for the first time for their first warm-up at home as well. Alongside me here on SAFC Live is, of course, Danny Collins. Danny, we're bathed in the sunshine next to this beautiful new pitch. We've got a new PA system, we've got new floodlights, everything's on.
Spot on, isn't it? Yeah, as you say there, nice early kick-off Sunday morning. Lads coming out for the warm-up. Pitch is immaculate, as you say, full renovation over the last month or so. A good win last week on the road at Cardiff. Can we back it up in front of a big bumper crowd this afternoon?
Yeah, it must be quite exciting as a player, Danny, especially when your first game's away, to finally get back in front of this crowd. For some of these players as well, it's their first time playing in front of this crowd. And of course, the manager's first chance to experience the atmosphere inside the Stadium of Light as well. Everyone will be looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, obviously first game of the season. As we said there, we were on the road at Cardiff, managed to pick up the 3 points, clean sheet, and then you're back here, what is your home and what you tried to make your sort of fortress throughout the season. Last year, obviously, we tailed off towards the end against our opposition this afternoon, final game of the season. They came up here and picked up the 3 points, so that one's always in the back of your mind as well. But yeah, start the season well, especially at home. Mentioned it there, over 40,000 in the stadium this afternoon. Can we get them on side early on?
Exactly. We are broadcasting around the world here on SAFC Live. You can get your Match to streaming passes right now at safc.com. Now, we're going to be hoping to be joined by a player very soon, so we'll bring you more news on that as and when they arrive. Also, later on in the pre-game programme, we'll be joined by Rob Mason as well to add a bit historical context to the fixture, and he'll be joining us every home game as well here on SAFC Live. So we spoke about the anticipation of the people in the dressing room perhaps, but also the anticipation of the people of Sunderland, of course, as well. Season didn't end the way they liked it to last season. Of course, the last game was, of course, against Sheffield Wednesday. Yep. But there's although a lot of the players are very similar, there's a renewed optimism, isn't there, around the Stadium of Light?
Well, there is, yeah, and I think obviously if you're looking at the playing or the starting 11, I think obviously we'll get onto the starting lineup in a moment, but there's only Alan Browne in there from last season, wasn't there? But the lads know what it's all about. As you say, Dan Neil's in there now, he's taking the armband. He's quite experienced now, still a young lad, isn't he? But we're still obviously a young squad in general. But no, it's I've played many games here in the stadium. It's a privilege to play in here when the fans are behind you, the noise, as you say, 40-odd thousand plus, and the expectation levels are there from the crowd. Yes, we dipped off massively last season after Christmas. 16th finish, not good enough for a club like Sunderland at this level. Sunderland, for me, in the Championship should be worst case pushing for the playoffs, and that'll be what these fans expect this season.
Right, we're down here pitch side. We're going to hopefully bring you the team news now, if we can, for the first time here on SAFC Live. My earpiece has just gone dead in my ear, so hopefully we can bring you that to you wherever you are around the world. Sunderland team news, Danny. We'll look down at our team sheet and just remind everyone. I'll quickly run through it for everyone. So Anthony Patterson starts in goal. Then you have Dennis Serkin, Dan Neil. We've got Job, Patrick Roberts. Chris Rigg is the change in the 11. Eliza Mayenda, Luke O'Nien, Jack Clark, Trey Hume and Aji Elise. That's just starting 11. So just the one change there from the first league game.
Yeah, we understand. I think Alan Browne's picked up a slight niggle with his calf, I think. So we'll get onto that in a minute. But yeah, that's perhaps the team you expected. A good win last week on the road. Obviously, we flipped the 11 in midweek against Preston. Sheffield Wednesday made 11 changes as well in their win against Hull. But it's back to the league now, isn't it? So these boys have got the shirts, as we said. We've been through pre-season. They got the shirts for those 11 shirts down at Cardiff last weekend. They've done the job, so they stay in there, and rightly so as well. I think obviously there's a concern, maybe top end of the pitch. We're still obviously looking, no doubt, for a centre forward or two to come in and to strengthen at the top end there. But if you look around that squad as a whole, and we spoke about it after the game last week, and we were asked after the game, where do I feel we'll be? I think there or thereabouts playoffs, if we can maybe tweak one or two and strengthen a little bit more.
Well, let's speak more broadly. I'll tell you what we'll do, Danny, while we're down here pitch side with a few technical difficulties. We'll play the highlights from the Cardiff and maybe see those goals which we conceded against Preston as well. So we'll play those highlights for you guys, and me and Danny will speak more broadly about this week or so that's left of the transfer window, because all depending on which way the activity goes has a massive knock-on effect. And I feel that, generally speaking, in the EFL, Premier League as well to a certain extent, there hasn't been that major flurry of transfers, has there really, yet?
No, I think obviously you're looking at it from our point of view, and yes, we brought 3 or 4 players
especially
in already.
the loans as well,
of course,
because the big clubs in the Prem, they like to see what their squads are, don't they, before they let the loans out.
Exactly, and then bumping down some of the younger lads on the fringe at the Premier League sides, they'll probably get released and go out to get some football. So I'm sure Christian and the recruitment team are looking at that side of things as well, and they've got 1 or 2 marked down. But what we've got at the minute, these lads have got to get on with it. As I say, when we're at it and we're all firing 8 out of 10s, then we're more than a match for anybody at this level. Today's opposition, as you mentioned, Danny Roll came in last year, done a fantastic job, got them over the line. 2-0 victory up here at the stadium, secured their place in the Championship, and then they've got off to a flyer last week against Wayne Rooney's side, didn't they?
Yeah,
Plymouth.
they did.
And then they had the win in the midweek as well, obviously made those changes, as we said, against Hull. But they'll be difficult today. They've got strength in depth themselves, good options at the top end of the pitch.
And a lot spoken about their manager. Of course, last season as well, there was a lot of speculation around their manager. They managed to hold on to him during the summer as well. The Sheffield Wednesday fans see that as being part of the best bit of business they've done during the summer, was to manage to keep a hold of Danny Roll. Yeah,
you'd say so. I think you look at it, and even I think last 6 games they won 4 and drew 2, just to secure their status at this level, I think, as well. So no, he's been obviously a big plus for them coming in. I think they got off to a difficult start last season after coming back up from League One. But when you've got the likes of sort of Barry Bannon in there, and if you're giving him time to dictate and play, then he's got to run games as he did against Plymouth last weekend. But he's done a fantastic job. But look at it from our point of view, and obviously Regis coming in as well. He's going to have a look at them in the week, look at their highlights from that Plymouth game last weekend, and try and nullify their strengths. And obviously the lad on the wing as well, I thought was excellent against Plymouth, Musaba as well, quick down this left-hand side.
We've got the highlights in front of us now. We are watching some of them back from Cardiff City, of course. I've heard some different opinions about this fixture. A lot of people saying, yes, Sunderland went down and did the business. I'm of that opinion as well. Then a lot of Cardiff fans said, well, we were the better side, but we got nothing out of it as well. How did you see the game as a whole?
Yeah, no, I've seen this as well. I think if you look at it, I think they had 66% of the ball. I think, a lot of people have said we pressed that. I thought we actually sort of sat off, really, contained them, frustrated them, and you could hear it in the ground, couldn't you? I thought they started quite well, actually, Cardiff, and then out of sort of nothing, really, against the run of play, we get that free kick. It's a decent ball in from Patrick, Dennis heads it across, and then Luke gets on the end of it, and that settled us down a little bit for the next 10 minutes or so. And then, similar second half, they had a lot of the ball, we spent a lot of time in our half, but sometimes you can play a game a different way and obviously win it. I don't think the fans will want to see it as much at home if we're going to sit back here and only have 30-35% of the ball. From where we were a couple of seasons ago under Tony, where we dominated games, moved the ball quick. I think that's what Regis wants to see from us, but at the same time you have to appreciate and assess the opposition you're up against as well. And you look at Sheffield Wednesday. They enjoyed having the ball last week as well, so they'll come up here full of confidence after that victory. They'll want to try and dominate the ball. They'll have a good following, 4,000 or so, I'm sure, up in that top tier, and they'll want us quiet and our fans down early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back through some more of these highlights from the Cardiff game, and then we have a guest waiting in the wings as well. We'll just see how. Yeah, but
again, looking at that, obviously the second goal with Jack as well, Joe's done really well, hasn't he? Won the ball back on the halfway line and then hit him on the counter-attack. And when you've got Patrick and Jack, you get them on the ball and they can cause damage against fullbacks, getting at them 1v1, and we've seen that time and time again with Jack Clark. It was a trademark goal from him, wasn't it?
Right, we're just watching the final moments of the Cardiff City highlights.
There's that goal now, you see, isn't it? It just chops inside. Doesn't really have to beat his man, just shifts it enough, doesn't he? And then bends it into that far corner. Fantastic finish. And the lads earned it, and the lads at the back as well. The clean sheet, I thought they were excellent. Anthony Patterson claiming crosses when he needed to, commanded his box, and we'll hopefully see again this afternoon.
Right, okay then. What we're going to do now is we're going to grab a quick word, if we can, with Alan Browne, who's waiting in the wings now. See if we can get a hold of him. We'll get him live on the camera here. This is Alan Browne. Hi, Alan. How you doing?
Okay.
Welcome to SAFC Live, the club's in-house channel, and of course, welcome to Sunderland AFC. How are you settling in, Alan?
Thanks a million. Really good. Just need to find a house now for myself and my family, but on the pitch, in terms of blending in with the boys and the staff and everyone else, it's been really good, and I've got a nice warm welcome.
Yeah, it must be frustrating not being able to run out this afternoon in front of this crowd, and everyone's really excited about coming here with the first game of the season. New manager, new players like yourself, but hopefully you won't be out for too long, Alan.
Yeah, no, it's just a minor knock. Hopefully I'll be back in amongst it next week. Yeah, I'm gutted about today. I was really looking forward to hopefully making my home debut, but obviously that's not the case and we'll just have to wait.
Before Alan came in, he's the kind of player that Sunderland have lacked for a couple of seasons, isn't he?
Yeah, no, exactly. Obviously, with Corey moving on as well, and we're a young squad, youngest in the Championship last season. Alan, bags of experience at this level. Obviously, the senior man, Al, 29, is that right? Yeah, so senior man. What's it been like around those young boys in the changing rooms?
It's actually not been too bad. I think the age gap in amongst football doesn't seem as big. And I think, I know they're young players, but they have got a lot of experience themselves, so in that regard it's been not much of a massive difference, but you can tell little differences and on the pitch as well, you know. So I think the more we encourage younger boys to, you know, communicate and you know, step up, then the better, because we do need a lot of leaders in there.
But as well, isn't it? I know a lot of people, and I was similar when you get into sort of my age later on in your career, and a lot of people say as well, when you're having a difficult spell on the pitch, as we did at the end of last season, when you get the senior lads in, or they're there to pull the young lads through, but you're coming to a new club yourself, so you want to sort of nail down your starting position as well and find your feet really as well. And as you mentioned there, you've got the likes of Dan there, who's 22, Dan, isn't he? But he's got experience now. He's obviously taken the armband. Some of the younger foreign boys in there as well. So you've got to try and look after your own role as well, playing your football, you know, positive football. And they've got to step up as well, haven't they? Especially in a stadium like this.
Yeah, of course. You know, it's not just on me because I'm the oldest or more experienced. Like you said, you've got a lot of leaders in there already. And yeah, I've got to find my feet and make sure I'm looking after myself before, you know, you can look after others. But I think I do manage that quite well. You know, I try to train, get myself in the team, and then when I can, I look after the boys as well. So, like you said there as well, you know, in games, you can make those little tweaks, and I've played that many games, I can see how games can pan out and how they're going, and make those changes on the pitch.
Yeah, how's the first team coach getting on then? Obviously everyone's really excited about his appointment, but obviously we don't know too much about him. Is he getting his ideas across over the training ground?
Yeah, from what I've seen so far, he's really good. And you know, I met with him before I signed there, and he was a big deciding factor for me. The way he spoke about football, you know, he does seem really passionate, and tactically he's well clued in. So that was a massive factor for me coming here. I obviously wanted to come to a big club, but to know that they're going to try and play the right way as well, you know, it's a huge decision factor coming here. So yeah, he seems to have stamped his authority so far, and hopefully we can continue to win games.
Alan, we're out of time, but thank you so much for joining us here on SAFC Live. Everyone wishes you the best with your Sunderland career, and we'll see you on the pitch very soon, Alan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, all the best,
thanks,
mate.
Alan.
Cheers,
thank you. Alan Browne there, speaking to us pitch side here at the Stadium of Light. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back very soon. You can get your matchday streaming passes right now at safc.com.
In the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car, because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
Welcome back everyone to SAFC Live. Myself and Danny are pitch side. The lads are warming up just behind us. You might be able to see the likes of Trey Hume, Patrick Roberts, Jack Clark's there as well. What's this kind of drill they're doing here, Danny? What is it, some kind of
a little bit of possession, yeah, get the lads short and sharp, and then they'll do the unit work as well. Defenders tend to go over the far side, and then strikers do a little bit combination play, get a few finishes off, getting ready for obviously the build up to kick off.
Okay, let's have a look at the Sunderland side. If you have just joined us, everyone, the Sunderland side is in for their first home game of the season, of course their second game of the season as well. And what we'll do is, in the meantime, while you're looking at the squad, we'll bring in our club historian who can tell us a bit about this fixture over the years, but also maybe you'd like to comment upon our starting 11. Rob Mason.
Right, well, obviously the big surprise, Frankie and Danny, and good afternoon to everybody, or good morning even. The big surprise, obviously, is that Alan Browne is unavailable today, which is a pity. But you've got to turn the negative into a positive, and for me, the inclusion of Chris Rigg is very much a positive. I think he's been really banging on the door for a start. He brings such a lot of creativity, energy, excitement, and an extra goal threat into the team because he has got a goal in him. And so I'm really excited, looking forward to the first home game, hoping we can become one of only 3 teams in the league to have maximum points after the 2 games.
Yes. Okay then, so every week we'd like to give us some historical context of this game. 2 huge historic clubs within English football, Sunderland and Sheffield Wednesday, and they've come across each other a few times, haven't they, over the years?
Indeed, you're quite right. A lot of people don't appreciate what such a big club Sheffield Wednesday are. I was a student in Sheffield in the 1970s and used to watch them regularly when they were managed by the Sunderland legend Len Ashurst and had Ian Porterfield playing in midfield for them. In fact, Ian, I didn't know Ian in those days, but mams being mams, my mum wrote to Sheffield Wednesday to say to Ian Porterfield, do you know my son comes to watch you just because you're playing? And Ian Porterfield kindly wrote back and said, oh, let me know when he's coming, because I was still watching Sunderland, obviously, but I'd watched Sheffield Wednesday in a midweek game. And so for 4 years, or 3 or 4 years, Ian Porterfield would leave me a ticket for Sheffield Wednesday. And I was, of course, a very long-haired, believe it or not, I was a long-haired student. You can believe I was a raggy student.
But freebies as well.
Yeah. But the first time I turned up at Sheffield Wednesday for a ticket for Ian Porterfield, he left me in the director's box. There was I with raggy jeans, decades before raggy jeans were fashionable. Hair looking like an explosion in a mattress factory, but I smartened myself up for the second time I went. But yeah, Sheffield Wednesday are a fantastic club, fantastic support. Look, I never like to see Sunderland get beat, never. I'm a Sunderland supporter, I wanted Sunderland to win. But I wasn't heartbroken when Sheffield Wednesday won here on the last day of last season to stop up. Apart from anything else, it gives us Sheffield Wednesday here today with their support, and it gives us a day out at Hillsborough in due course. You're quite right, fantastic club, fantastic memories with Sheffield Wednesday, and probably the best one is a recent one, and that is the playoffs when we had them 2 or 3 years ago, when I thought, in all fairness to Sheffield Wednesday, remember that when we played in League One, I don't mind saying that I thought League One was nothing other than a cesspit of cheating. I know there's gamesmanship, Danny, but it was a cesspit of cheating, week in, week out. And I'll name names, Oxford United, Wycombe Wanderers, absolutely terrible, spoilt the game. For the only time in my life, I wasn't looking forward to coming to the game because it wasn't enjoyable. But when we beat Sheffield Wednesday in the playoffs and we beat them fair and square over 2 legs, Sheffield Wednesday and their supporters reacted with the grace you would expect of a top club. And I was delighted then when Sheffield Wednesday had their own promotion the following year. And it's always good to take them on. We have a sad bit of history in that the first 2 times Sunderland were relegated in 1958 and in 1970, Sheffield Wednesday were the team that went down with us, although when we were relegated in 58 they came straight back up. And of course in that era our manager Alan Browne, in between getting Sunderland promoted in 64, he left Sunderland to go to Sheffield Wednesday. He took Sheffield Wednesday to the cup final in 66 and then came back to Sunderland a couple of years later, and sadly we got relegated under him in 1970. A lot of people have a bad impression of Alan Browne, but if you speak to the players who played for him, they loved him. They think he was years ahead of his time. Dennis Stewart in particular always speaks very, very highly of Alan Browne. And if you ask Jimmy Montgomery and the other players, or most of the other players from the 73 cup winning team, they'll say that with all due respect to Bob Stoker, who of course came and brought the magic, you know, or as he said, I didn't bring the magic's always been here. A lot of the players say essentially it was Alan Browne's team. You know, there was the left back Ron Guthrie and the centre forward Vic Hallam were the only 2 members of the 73 team that Bob brought in. You know, players who'd come through with Alan Browne, and I think 6 of them had come through the youth system. And if there was one thing about Alan Browne, it was his belief in youth and bringing players through the youth system. And of course that's mirrored now because we have such a lot of faith in youth, whether the people we've brought through our own academy, coming back to Chris Rigg, or whether it's players we've brought in from elsewhere, but who are young players who we're trying to mould into a team.
And going back to today's game, Rob mentioned, Sheffield Wednesday, a good footballing historic club. We should see that this afternoon from Danny Roll's squad, shouldn't we, Danny? Because they play good football under this manager, and this manager could be going places in the game, couldn't he?
Yeah, and the main man, Barry Bannon, isn't it? He's one to keep an eye on. You see him last week, obviously watched the game against Plymouth, pulling the strings in there. If you give him time and space, he orchestrates things, doesn't he, for Sheffield Wednesday? So I'm sure it's something Regis and the boys have worked on during the week.
34-year-old Barry Bannon, experienced as a place in football.
Yeah, but the first 5 yards are there, aren't they? So he knows what he's doing out on the pitch, certainly. But they've got legs around him as well. As we mentioned, the 2 wingers want to keep an eye on this afternoon as well. I think it'll be quite an open game. As we said there, I think looking at Sheffield Wednesday last week, they like to try and dominate the ball. I think our fans will want to see us dominate a little bit more than we did at Cardiff last weekend. It's all well and good doing it on the road, sitting off a little bit more, but when you're at home in front of 40,000 of your own fans, they'll want to see us having more of the ball, moving the ball quicker throughout the pitch as well.
Yeah, I mean, Danny's just used the word orchestrating there to describe Barry Bannon, and it's a perfect word because he is, if you like, the conductor of the orchestra. He'll dictate what goes on around him. There's other young lads around him who will provide the legs. But I'm really excited about today's game. Sunderland have off to a good start with their result at Cardiff last week. I think we can play a lot better than we played at Cardiff. But nonetheless, you take the 2-0 away.
It's not bad, is it? 2-0 on the road,
2-0 away, and you think we can do better than that. You're more than happy, aren't you? But it's worth nothing if we don't come and build on it this afternoon. And it should be an open, exciting game. I think everybody who's here to watch it and everybody who will watch it worldwide on the stream is in, hopefully, for an entertaining afternoon. Although from my point of view, I couldn't care less if it's entertaining or not, as long as come the final whistle, Sunderland is sat there on 6 points.
And broadly speaking, Rob, the season's prospects, of course, everyone inside this stadium and watching around the world would want to see Sunderland back in the Premier League. Some strong opposition in the league this season. This next week or so, is that important as well with transfers in and out? That could be a huge part, couldn't it?
Absolutely, Frankie. I don't like the fact that the season starts with the transfer window still open.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can really start to make predictions about how Sunderland or any other side are going to do until 24 hours after the transfer window's gone, after the deal sheets are all in and we see any last minute ones we weren't expecting for Sunderland or anybody else, and you then assess the strength of all the squads in the league. Look, we've got a good team here. Let's not make any bones about it. We've got a good team. We all know there's one particular piece of the jigsaw that we're waiting to fit in. Hopefully we can fit that piece of the jigsaw in between now and the end of the transfer window. You're quite right, there's a lot of terrific opposition in the Championship. We've already seen that with some of the teams. We've got one of those main opposition here next week in Burnley. If we can win today, what a game that's going to be against Burnley next week. But you get the 3 points you get in August counts for the same number of points you get in May. Let's get them on the board sooner rather than later and keep getting them on the board and make sure we're in the mix for the promotion shake-up, because we desperately need to be so.
Absolutely, and everyone will agree with that sentiment as well, Rob. Right, we're going to go to an ad. Rob, we'll see you next home game.
Will indeed. Cheers.
Have you got a book to plug at the moment?
I've always got a book. The one that's just out at the moment is Sunderland, The Definitive History. It came out on the 18th of July. It's in the shops now. It is a thorough account of the club's history, starting from the day the club founder James Allen was born in 1857. It talks about the way the club came into being. It talks about all the highs and lows of the club in every era, and it goes right up to the last time Sheffield Wednesday were here on the final day of last season. I hope people, if they appreciate the football club and the history of the football club, will really, really enjoy it and maybe find out something they didn't know about the club to support. As I say, it's called Sunderland AFC, The Definitive History.
There you go. And of course, Rob will join us next home game as well. Rob, you're free to go enjoy the game this afternoon. Right, we're going to go to a quick ad break, and then myself and Danny will be back in our commentary positions up on the gantry. Remember, you can get your matchday streaming passes right now at safc.com.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.